cultured.
I have my moments. They're not this one. This is not one of them. This is the moment, though. Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to NBA Live Before Lock here, presented by other shoulder Bet365, everybody. I'm Eric Lindquist. Go follow me at Eric Lindquist over on the Twitter /X/ whatever Elon's calling it these days. This is exciting because it's for the first time I'm looking in your eyes. I saved the singing until now. I have to always make everybody uncomfortable. Oh, bro. Dude, bro, chill. You're in the clan already, my guy. What's going on? Matthew Belman, everybody. Go follow him at Fantasy Tips, Matt. Also, one of the more heralded DFS players in the entire space. We're lucky to have him. Belman 967, MBELMAN 967. If you want to send him a head-to-head, go ahead and fire that up because, well, that's like froshing when you start getting those alerts up in the corner while you're trying to give analysis. It's always fun, right? How you doing, my guy?
I'm good. Yeah, man, excited to be on here with you. This is my first NBA show. I just started this week, so excited to get on here and chat some hoops with you.
Fantasy Tits, Matt. It's name already taken, I assume.
I was going to say, I don't really understand how you could mess up my DK username. You said my name was Matthew Belman, and then you said my username was like M. Belman. It's obviously just M. Belman, right?
Well, fuck me, right?
I had to. I'm sorry.
I know. It's okay. We're just trying to ease the tension, baby.
It's my name. You know, it's my name. What else do I have?
You've got a beautiful Kiawah Island hat. I don't know if you can tell. I like golf. And so I saw that on top of you there. One of the better results. See, I can't even say names in anything. One of the better resorts in all of America. If you want to go hit a golf ball around a nice green lot, there is long rough everywhere there on the ocean course. But what an awesome spot that is. Have you played there before?
So I'm not a golfer,
okay.
But my dad is a big golfer, was a big golfer. He's much older now. And the houses there are amazing. I'm not sure if you've got like amazing. So my family, like my parents, my sister and her husband, me and my wife and our kid, rented a house there over the summer and stayed there for a week. And it was dope. I mean, you can't do much except golf, but just like living out there for a week is really nice. You know, having a pool, like all the stuff. So it was a lot of fun. I think we might do it again.
Dude, it is an awesome territory. Get some pickleball in your life or something. I'm sure they've got that. Everybody's got pickleball these days. Jordan Klein probably played pickleball. It's like a rich person thing to do, I think, right? Isn't it, Jordan Klein? I bet your aunt plays.
Is it?
I bet you go do that before you. There you go. Of course, Jordan Klein plays.
I never really put it in as like it's a rich person's sport. I mean, that makes sense to me. I just never really calculated it like that. I guess when I'm thinking about it, though, one of my wife's best friends just had a pickleball court put in her like build outside. So I think what you said makes sense.
If you're building a custom court, again, you kind of need a custom made court. It's hard to make the tennis court thing work with it, even though, again, it's the fastest growing sport in America. So I thought I'd throw that out there. Would be nice to grow that like count right from the get-go here on this video. Matt, myself, giving you all the information for this 2-game slate we have before us. And I'm going to go to the Lakers game tonight. So there is that too. I'm very, very excited about that one. So that's getting fired up. Didn't want to tell Jordan Klein that from the front end because, well, hopefully I get to see him play Wembanyama on Sunday. Hopefully we're hanging out together, giving guys red vines from the front row. Yeah, we did that with Ish Wainwright last season. And, well, I think you guys are still dating, aren't you, Jordan? No, you cut it off. Yeah. You got Wayne.
That sounds amazing.
He's too poor for Jordan's taste these times. So smash that like button, everybody. Poor Ish. It was good times. He's a beautiful man. Also, he was an awesome dude to just kick it with. So that was that. Anyway,
if I'm like dreaming about what I could do at any point, I'm thinking that like right up there is Ish Smith with the red vines. And I'm not even kidding. It just sounds like an amazing experience.
It was. Jordan Klein, why don't you come on and tell the people about how amazing it was and the friend that you have in Eric Lindquist who made that all happen.
I have no comment on any of this, but I do appreciate going to the game with you, Eric. I do appreciate that.
All right, we'll run it back now because you're so nice like that. Anywho, everybody, let's get to it. You're here for analysis. We've got the NBA live before lock here. We're giving you all the information, breaking everything down for this slate. And then we're going to turn it over to NFL Live before lock. Get out here a minute or two early so that we can turn the stream over so you get showdown action. Yeah, Tampa Bay at Buffalo. Good to have Baker Mayfield in. Good to have Chris Godwin in. We're going to get all the ins and outs for you there in that one as well. Neil Orfield giving you the analysis. Lofty hosting, going to be awesome. Let's get into this, though. The NBA slate, 2 games on tap. 2 teams we haven't seen play yet here in Philly and Milwaukee, and then Phoenix and LA. Before we even start and break down the tools and talk through the ins and outs of this slate from a DFS perspective, how excited are you to watch Dame play with Milwaukee today?
Yeah, I mean, it's been kind of a dream pairing for years now, Dame and Giannis. Freaky time, if you will. Freak time, whatever they're calling it. Yeah, can't wait to see it. This is a good matchup, too. Always respect Philly. I don't really care about Harden. Sometimes guys like that, it's addition by subtraction. He is really good still. So, I did a little writing today, and I think Philly's championship aspirations probably take a hit right now, but I don't really see Harden affecting them like in terms of like their win-loss record early. It should be a really good game is, I guess, the long-winded way of getting there. And I'm hella excited to see Giannis and Dame, 2 of the top. I mean, Giannis is the best player. Giannis is the second best player in the NBA. You could make the case he's the best. It's him and Jokic, and Dame is top 10. So it should be really fun.
Yeah, it should be a lot of fun. And obviously, I was doing a compare tool because I just wanted to see Damian Lillard next to Drew Holiday. And as good of a fit as Drew Holiday is there for Boston, I mean, this is an electric fit for Damian Lillard offensively. I mean, this is a situation where I think both teams in somehow, some way got better, because I don't think Dame is going to be as effective if you put him on Boston, and I don't think Drew's going to be as effective if you put him back here on Milwaukee, although worked out well for a year. You get a title there. Those are tough to come by. So I'm excited to watch. Let's get into it here from a DFS perspective, though. Smash the like button. Here we go. In terms of ownership, we are going to see some guys we're going towards the top here, but Kevin Durant is just kind of running away with this slate a little bit for me. As I update things here in the Sims tool, I mean, we are going to have a ton that we can look to spend up for. We have Joel Embiid without James Harden. That's obviously going to be a major omission. We have Kevin Durant now without Bradley Beal and without Devin Booker. We at least have a better idea of rotations for both of those teams. But like, in terms of spend ups on this slate, on DraftKings specifically, who are you kind of landing on the most?
Well, if you count Durant as a spend up, I think it's obviously him. But before we get into that, I have to go back, reverse it real quick. So I don't disagree with your take on Milwaukee-Boston. I will say, though, to me, it seems like we know Boston got better. Do we know Milwaukee got better? Like, I don't think so. And here's my question to you. Do you think Milwaukee still makes the deal knowing that Drew's going to Boston?
Probably not. That's a really good
I don't know.
point.
I don't know. I think it's definitely a question to be asked. I don't know the answer. I think
like
Boston's the best team in the East.
It's like when you break up with the hot chick and then all of a sudden they end up with like the hottest dude in town or something, and you're like, shit, I screwed up.
Right. Yeah, for sure. All right. Sorry about that.
No, it's a great aside. I think that it's a really good thing to point out because, I'm probably with you. Where Boston, they look really good. I'm going to be a big Boston stan here from a betting perspective, but from a DFS perspective, I'm just looking at the top of the board, and I think it's a fun place to start before we get into the chalky cheapies. High Jordan Goodwin in the tools, but Joel Embiid 10-3, Giannis Antetokounmpo 10-2, Dame Lillard 9K, Kevin Durant running away with the position up here at 73.8%. I'm just curious where you're landing in amongst the studs on this slate.
So kind of like exactly what happened on the first day of the slate on Tuesday, where the pricing's weird. Almost everyone is too cheap, it seems. That being said, Durant stands out at 8,900 with no Beal and no Booker. I mean, you could say maybe he's lost a step, but he's, the top guy in our boom bust tool by a decent amount. He has by far the highest chance of being in the optimal lineup. Now he's getting quote unquote too much ownership. So I don't think you have to play him in every lineup you play, but I certainly think on paper he looks the best. I would presume this is a competitive game. The Lakers are probably, I haven't even looked, probably 6.5, 6-point favorites here. I would guess. Like Phoenix should stay in this game, and it's hard not to like Durant in that case. aside from that, though, we do have like quite a few guys, as you mentioned, for a small 2-game slate. You didn't even talk about the 2 Lakers guys, and I get it because especially LeBron with his minutes, et cetera, it's really tough to get there. I think Embiid looks really good. Both Embiid and Giannis, they're too cheap. Like, I get why they decreased Giannis's price tag with Dame there, but Giannis at 10-2 is really intriguing. He's the only guy in this top group coming in with leverage and quite a bit of it at that. So based on that, I think my favorite tournament play in this group is Giannis. Like, Dame is there. I get that. He'll eat into some usage. But first off, I mean, a few points here. It's Giannis. Like, he doesn't, he does everything. So yes, scoring is great for him, but he makes his impact in a lot of different ways. And don't you think that with Dame coming to Milwaukee, it's a lot more likely that he acquiesces to Giannis than vice versa? Like, this is Giannis's team. His numbers might take a slight hit. They might not, though. Opening night, like, I don't know. I like Giannis here. I also like Embiid just for the fact that it's his squad. He should do whatever he wants tonight with no Harden. I like all of them. My favorite tournament play is Giannis. What do you think?
Yeah. So for me, Giannis, looking at him in the tools as well, it's just somebody that you see him at 25% cheaper than Joel Embiid on a 2-game slate. And it just kind of makes your eyes pop a little bit. Now, working through the Sims tool, that's a little bit different. And it's a change in construction for these 2 gamers. I think pretty well noted. I don't love 2 gamers for the NBA relative to other spots, but it is the slate that we have before us. And it filled everywhere on DraftKings for a reason. It's exciting to have the NBA back. So I'm going to be firing it up here. And as I'm working through my CSV and looking through different pieces, it's like, I'm still not getting to Giannis as much as I artificially would have boosted him once upon a time. So I have to at least say that. I think what's really going to end up happening as we get closer to it is I'm going to find some way, shape, or form to turn any lineups that aren't going well from Kevin Durant into an Anthony Davis, from Kevin Durant into a LeBron James. And so I don't even know how much I'm going to end up between those 3 players specifically. But DraftKings did us a favor having them within $100, $200 of each other. And so, like, this is your chance to be able to get Joel Embiid or Giannis Antetokounmpo, I think, at reduced ownership. Or if you're going to play the late swap game, and you should be, because we do have some questions about what that 5th starter will be for Phoenix, I think we're looking at an opportunity to get reduced possibly ownership on a Giannis for the, like, this never happens on a 2-game slate where you get a 10K Giannis at 25%.
Yeah,
anyway.
I don't know. I think you're right. And I think you could, fit like 2 studs comfortably here?
Oh, easily.
3. But can you fit? Well, you probably can fit 3 because, like, Durant's so cheap for being a stud.
Correct.
It's tough, though, if you go like Embiid, Giannis, and Durant. It's tough to fill out that way. And you're probably going to have a similar construction as a lot of other people. But that said, I like all your points. And there are, ways to get different by late swapping here that, sometimes I think it's overblown. I know that you love late swap. I've listened to enough of your shows to know that, and I think it's very valid. I think it can be overblown sometimes, but here it's a perfect spot. Like you said, the guys are basically the same price. They're going to see, Durant compared to LeBron is going to be like, 7-8 times as high owned. More than that, 10, 12 times high owned. So I get it. It makes a lot of sense for this particular slate.
Yeah, 31 minutes is the projection for LeBron James. For Kevin Durant, you're looking at 36 minutes here at Stochastic today. I think our projections are pretty perfect in line with that. I think Kevin Durant being at 73.8%, that's a big number. So I'm just going to ask you, currently, again, it's going to change for me. It's such a hard question to ask as of right now. It's going to dictate how my lineups are doing on the earlier game. It almost always does, but like, how much Kevin Durant do you envision getting to? Because I have the answer right now is a ton, an absolute ton.
So this is our first show together, so we haven't really talked about playing styles. I play small amount of lineups and like a higher dollar tournaments and stuff. So if I'm playing, let's say 3 lineups tonight, I would have Durant and no less than 2. I mean, at that point, you're right with the field. If you're playing 2 out of 3, I don't mind that. I also don't think it's crazy to just lock him in. That said, talked about this game at the beginning. The Lakers rolling here isn't like out of the question. I don't think it happens, but Phoenix is pretty cheeks besides from Durant in this spot. I mean, they built their whole roster. They built their whole roster with Durant, Beal, and Booker. And those 3, we'll see, might be good enough to, win the West. They might be. But without, one of those guys, now two of those guys, like they could struggle. I don't think that's the likeliest outcome, but there are ways where Durant isn't like, is a good fade here. I mean, it's just how it's NBA DFS, especially week 1, game 1 for a couple of these teams.
Yeah, we only have 69 minutes where, nice, since the 9th. So he got traded to Phoenix on the 9th there. I took Chris Paul off the floor. I took Devin Booker off the floor just for the continuity's sake there. I guess I could keep Chris Paul on because it's not like a crazy usage difference that it'll be between him and other guys. Obviously, assist rate will change drastically, but I mean, he is just so hard to get away from. 33.7% usage rate there with Devin Booker off the floor last season. Very small minutes allotment because they played so many minutes together in some of those spots. Effective field goal percentage did lack a little bit here. The Lakers, are they going to really do enough defensively here? I do think Kevin Durant, there's really no question that like he'll be the spend up here as we get to lock that I'm going to have the most of. But obviously, just artificially, I see the Giannis ownership and it just makes me want to get there in bulk. But last guy to really discuss amongst the studs that we're talking 9K and above, how much Damian Lillard is too much Damian Lillard today?
I don't know. I'm kind of on the Giannis side over Lillard. Same. I get Lillard for a lot of the same arguments, but he's the one guy that's not like underpriced. Like Anthony Davis is cheaper than him here. Give me Davis over Dame. I know that there are a couple other centers I like, Embiid and Nurk. So you kind of got to pick two between those guys. I'm fine playing Davis as the guy there if you want. Like he's $1,500 cheaper than Embiid. Really struggled in that second half of the Denver game. We've seen this time and time again with Davis. He'll struggle one game, come back, dominate the next game, repeat, rinse and repeat, for however long he feels like doing that. I could easily see this as being a game where he crushes. Like Phoenix doesn't really have anyone inside to stop him. I like Davis a lot in this spot. I do think that on these 2-game slates, you got to at least think about getting weird. And I think that just going heavy on all the studs in the late game is certainly a tournament strategy, hoping the first game is slower defensive battle or one team rolls. Like you have to at least think about that stuff on 2-gamers like this, especially when we have pricing, which makes some of these plays just so hard to get off of that it's just going to be really hard to get different if you're like multi-entering, et cetera. When you have plays like Durant, Goodwin, as you mentioned, Eric Gordon, who are just like really, really hard to get rid of. I don't like how the NBA has done this 2-game slate, 12-game slate, 2-game. It's really annoying because I really
and 11 tomorrow. Trust me.
Yeah.
It's, tomorrow's going to be wild again.
I much prefer the 5 to 8-game slates for sure. They're the perfect combination of these two. I mean, on the ones like this, it's just, you're really dumpster diving. And then the ones like last night, there's too many good plays. So it's what we have to work with. As you mentioned, everyone's playing the same slate. I do think, whether you're talking about, I'd like to hear your thoughts on this, like whether you're talking about the late game, which looks a little bit more appealing to me, or the earlier game. And I guess this goes to your Dame question, like, fading the late game in some lineups, I don't think it's crazy at all. And hoping that exactly what I said, the opposite happens, where the late game busts, maybe the Lakers win just because Phoenix has a lot of trouble scoring and the early game goes to OT or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a good point. I mean, that's exactly what you had with the Denver situation. The Denver and the Lakers put up more guys in the winning lineup than what you had from the Golden State game that everybody was jamming in there, Golden State and Phoenix. I believe it was 5-3 in some capacity, but yeah, on a 2-gamer, I am inclined to have some of those lineups that are going to stack up the early one if people are less inclined to get there. And projection wise, it would seem as though just because of all the value now, a Devin Booker being omitted, that's pretty difficult to get away from. James Harden, it's basically already been priced in to a certain extent that he's going to be absent from this one. So not as much to get mined out of that. Whereas, yeah, it's probably a good point that you can get there. Are you playing on FanDuel at all today?
Not playing on FanDuel today.
Okay. Well, I'm just going to give FanDuel for the people here. We'll talk a little Hall of Fame. We'll talk a couple of other deals. I'll make sure we do lineup generator for both of these two Jordan clients and make sure you got your finger on the trigger, that one. But we got Anthony Davis here, 10-3. 11-2 there at Joel Embiid, 55.5% ownership there for FanDuel. Joel Embiid, A little bit different play, a little bit different as far as positionality goes. Kevin Durant pulling 74% ownership. That's pretty comparable there at 9,800. Just looking at the top of the board for everybody, wanted to point out that looking at the boom bust tool, looking at everything else, LeBron James, again, nobody is going to be clicking on him now that it's been announced he's not going to be playing more than 31 minutes.
See,
go ahead.
That's the thing. Like on these two, like I get it. And I'm like a 10-game slate, you would never play LeBron here. But just like you were talking about with Denver, and I thought about this when you made that point, you needed on that slate Jokic and Aaron Gordon. On a 10-game slate, a 5-game, like you would not play those two together unless it was like the absolute nut spot, especially with the salaries where they are. You would not really be looking to play those two guys together. You have to throw those rules away on slates like this. So yeah, LeBron, oftentimes is probably not going to be optimal on this slate. And his minutes, projection or cap, whatever they said it was going to be, is going to hurt him more, much more often than obviously it's going to help him. But you just don't need him to beat that many guys because it's a 2-game slate. So that's my thoughts there. You could say the same about Dame, but just in thinking about this out loud, not thinking out loud, thinking about it in my head, I think Dame comes in decently higher than LeBron James in terms of ownership. Don't you?
Yeah, definitely do. Without a doubt. And before we get to the cheapies, and obviously want to make sure I give the FanDuel love there, but I'm with you. It's definitely going to be, it's going to be tough to get different in some of these lineups. There are a lot of the same plays. And that's where I think getting to some different cheapies or, just utilizing late swap if things don't work out the way that we might expect them to works out. But if it works out for you to hit the absolute nuts today, you're going to get yourself something pretty awesome. That's a Stochastic Hall of Fame, a free month of the Stochastic package when you sign up for the avatar down below. Simply download it. Download the Stochastic avatar at stochastic.com/avatar. Place in the top 3 of a contest with 5,000 or more contestants, $1 or more. Tweet the win at Stochastic HOF and get yourself that free month of the Stochastic package of your choosing. I bet I know what I would pick. Just saying, Sims is pretty fun. So check it all out, my friends, here at stochastic.com/avatar. Awesome stuff. Let's get into the nitty gritty because I think the studs, we can rotate through a lot of them. I think we all understand why LeBron's going to be lower than these other pieces. I think we can all understand why Kevin Durant is going to be higher on there, but Jordan Goodwin, this is like the de facto expected starter here in this spot or whatever we are looking at right now. This is just absolute insane ownership coming on him because 3,200 for a guy who's projected for 21 is going to have him show up in just about every single lineup. There is negative leverage, 86% ownership, 86.7 to be exact, 71.2% optimal percentage in the tools. My guy, how much Jordan Goodwin do you have today, or do you plan on having in your 3 lineups?
I think this is a situation where you probably just play him. There's merit to getting away a little bit just because he's over-owned per se. But again, you don't really see too often 3,200 guys with over a 70% chance of being optimal. NBA isn't about the ownership of one player. It's about the ownership of your lineup as a whole. There are ways to get contrarian in terms of pieces on the slate. I'd much rather take that route than trying to get away with what looks like the clear best value on the slate. That said, it's Jordan Goodwin. So if you told me that he ends up with, honestly, if he ends up with 12 DK points,
so true.
I don't think anyone's going to bat an eye. I did a contrarian article today and I wrote about Saban Lee. He was looking really good in our tools as far as leverage goes. Still decent, but not quite as good. It looks like we've bumped up Goodwin even more. I get it. It doesn't make you feel great. It doesn't give you the warm and fuzzies. But I think a lot of times these spots, people just overthink them and try to get away from these just free squares. I think there's just better ways to get different. Thoughts?
Yeah, so we have a lot of super chats we'll catch up on in a second, but I'm with you. It is so difficult. Now, I don't expect him to start. I'm not sure if that's the understanding everybody has across the industry. I'm kind of taking a little bit more muted approach on him where I'm still getting him in 65% of lineups. So don't get me wrong, he's still awesome value, but I expect Eric Gordon to be kind of the primary beneficiary. So out of the chalky options that we have here, I know there's negative leverage coming in on both of them, and Goodwin is way cheaper, but 4,400 Eric Gordon didn't even shoot the ball all that well there in the first game out. Working through some of these box scores, day before here, Eric Gordon, he ran into missed three as I'm working through the add more funds, the rotation pieces there. He ends up putting up he had a 20.9% usage rate in that game alongside Devin Booker. So that's nifty, but only 10 points. Was pretty inefficient. Not going to get any kind of an ownership discount, but I feel actually better about him as a chalk piece at 4,400 than I do about Jordan Goodwin.
Oh, yeah. I don't even think that's close. Like, for sure. I mean,
but I would say the field is doing the opposite. So I'm almost like,
well, just because he's a little more expensive, I think that's why.
Right.
Like, the 3,200 price tag will always draw people in. I'm with you, though. I mean, Gordon, he's like, I would say he's far from his days at Indiana as a Hoosier, but he's still like a competent NBA player. We've seen it. He's a good shooter. They're going to need him to do some things tonight. I'm with you. He's too cheap at 4,400. I would play him over Goodwin. I think you're probably just playing both of them, though, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's probably the right way of saying it, too. Obviously, we can swap around. We'll pay attention to that starting lineup, but I expect Eric Gordon to be the guy stepping in there. Should be fun to mine through, just like it's fun to mine through the super chats. You guys are the best. Saw Hannah Banana threw out all those subs, 5 gifted subs. You the best, Hannah. So good to see you. Thank you so much. Ace of Spade, he wants to do a little DK tiers. Yeah, Tears for Fears, still a thing here on a 2-game slate. That's kind of wild. So I'm pulling up the DK tiers here. We'll fire this one off. I'll give you some either-ors out of this section. We have Embiid, Giannis, and Lillard. Embiid, we pretty clear-cut on that one.
It's Embiid, yeah.
Yeah, Kevin Durant, Anthony Davis, LeBron James. Kevin Durant is going to be there, but Anthony Davis, I don't completely hate for a tournament.
Well, same with Giannis over Embiid, but give me Durant.
Yep. Nurkic for sure in tier 3 over Harris, Lopez, Middleton. Tier 4, going to be Russell. Even though I don't like Russell, he's not a good fit for this basketball team. Played decently well at times leading to the Western Conference Finals, but it's just a weird fit. Prefer Austin Reeves, and you can play point LeBron and work with it. Eric Gordon there for sure, tier 5. Josh Okogie, pretty close there, but still Eric Gordon for me. And then I don't know if I love Grayson Allen, but he's projected for like 12 minutes more than the next guy in terms of that tier. I guess PJ Tucker's at 26 minutes, but it's PJ Tucker, so you're getting into there. So Grayson Allen, but Paul Reed, we're going to talk about him quite a bit. Hi, Sims Tool, how are you? Let's jump to other pieces that you're getting to here on this slate. Chalkier pieces. Who is showing up in your lineups not named Goodwin or Gordon or any of the studs that we already talked about?
So I'm going to go with the contrarian option that I like a lot. And it tails into your Paul Reed shout out, because I think a definite way to play this slate is because I don't want to play like all the chalky pieces, because then you're just locked into the same lineups as everyone else. Like, I think you can definitely, I think it's really hard to get away from the Phoenix chalk, if you're building one lineup. I do think that looking at a couple of these other Philly pieces and not playing Embiid is at least worth, taking a deep dive on. Paul Reed, as you mentioned, is really cheap, popping in our tools. And so is Tobias Harris. And that does not make me feel good. He's not a fun DFS roster, but he looks really good as far as leverage goes. 24% chance of being optimal tonight, only 15% ownership. Those are the type of guys. I'd rather play guys like that with the Goodwins and the Durants of the world than like fade those other guys.
I am with you there. I think who did you end up landing on there? Sorry, I was trying to catch up on
Tobias Harris.
Tobias Harris. Yeah, I'm with you there. Yeah, Tobias Harris is somebody that when you go to the boom bust tool and you look at leverage, and again, going through the process, it's funny because there are a lot of these times where these are the guys who end up showing up in the Sims tool. You had Saric. What a great shout out by our data team, making sure that guy showed up in everything in the Sims. Again, we're running simulations here on our projections, and we're giving you guys expected ROI on your lineup as a whole. But there are going to be pieces like this. We just got the starting lineup from the Sixers. Maxey, Melton officially starting there. Harris, Tucker, Embiid. So I'm with you, where I think Tobias Harris starting in that unit there without James Harden. I thought he looked better during portions of the playoffs last year. Thought he was a decent enough piece. And at 15.2% ownership in our current projections, I'm with you. I got to get over that, building out even like 20 lineups, 25 lineups. I'm not playing 150. I did build out 150 in the contest simulator. So we'll go through some other pieces of that, but definitely with you on the Tobias Harris thing. Jacob, Colpatch, we got $1.99 from him. Top 3 value plays on DraftKings and thoughts on AD. I'll let you take AD there, but I think we're in consensus where we're definitely on the Goodwin, definitely on the Eric Gordon side of things. even if I'm flip-flopping them for large field GPPs, who would be your third favorite value option?
Third favorite value option. Who'd you say? Goodwin and Reed?
Yeah, Goodwin and Gordon, I think, are just like the locks to be 1-2 when you're talking about just pure optimal percentage. But I was curious who number 3 is for you.
Depends on how cheap you're going, I guess. But I think the answer there is Reed. Like, he comes with a lot more unknown than those guys.
Yeah.
But our tools love him. And it's early season NBA. I'm going to trust those tools more than like what I think is going to happen with Philly's rotation. So I think it's Reed. I mean, he's not getting no ownership. He's still projected to be 23% owned, but 34% chance of being optimal. I mean, that's a high number for him. And speaking of Philly, when we talked about Harris, I like Maxey too. I definitely think, and this ties into the AD question, starting to like AD a little bit more than Embiid in tournaments for the price tag. Just, I think Embiid ends up at least as high owned as Davis. He's more expensive, so maybe it's more dramatic than I think as far as ownership. But I think people really want to play Embiid here. And I think playing all the ancillary pieces makes sense in tournaments. Maxey, Harris, and Reed would be the guys.
I'm with you. I think we're going to run into, God, I mean, I keep looking at Kelly Oubre's name and I just want to vomit. Yeah. He's like 2% owned or something. I don't think you probably need to do it if you're building out one lineup, but I'm trying to figure out what to do with some of these ancillary Philadelphia pieces, because they all have positive leverage. Like Melton has positive leverage and Oubre has positive leverage. It's just, I don't know how much they're going to see the floor. And that's kind of the issue you're running into on a 2-game slate, where it just feels easier to be able to play the starters. And then a guy like Paul Reed, who's a great fantasy point per minute player, where, would it surprise you if he ends up playing 18 minutes and putting up 28? No, it does not. And he is cheap.
Those guys, though, like you mentioned, specifically Oubre, that aren't like, how much is Oubre?
5,700. Thanks for coming. Have a nice day. Drive home safely.
Yeah, 5,700. He is going to be, like you said, 1% owned. We saw it last night, like with the Cavs. Everyone was on Mobley. He was awful. Max Strus and Isaac Okoro went nutty. Like, Strus had 50-some DK points.
I can't with the Isaac Okoro thing. That was so dumb.
Yeah, he stinks. I mean, I'm a Cavs fan. He stinks. That was so dumb. But it just goes to show you, like, even on a slate like last night, a 10-gamer, those guys were 1% owned, less than that, to win a tournament. I mean, the guy who won the big tournament had those guys. You're getting a guy with potentially that upside. He's more expensive, but at that ownership. Like, Oubre is not a one lineup type of guy, but if I were multi-entering, I'd probably have 5 to 10% of him.
Yeah, it's one that I'm contemplating here. He's not showing up for me in the Sims. Thinking about artificially just doing it as a differentiating piece. And again, I'm going to trust the tools here more so. And that's where
you need offense.
Especially
off the bench.
That's what I'm just looking at. It's like, is Melton going to be that guy this year?
No. The Melton starting is not good for him. Like,
I mean, Melton now starting is not ideal. Again, it was one of those things where with Kelly Oubre, you're getting him off the bench. That's what he did at times in Charlotte. Obviously got into a starting role by default, but like, that's what Kelly Oubre is there to do. And he's going to play the most out of anybody on the bench. I'm a little bit surprised to see him at that low of ownership. And
same.
Somebody who's going to go
no more Shake Milton.
Yeah.
Like, and the thing about him is, like, he's not great, but he thinks he's great. And that's what you want Very for true. DFS. Like, he is not shy. That's why that really struck out at me when you said that. What?
Rinpack comes in. He drops the bombshell, so it is what it is. Now it's just a lock. Did you know James Harden's ex-girlfriend is married to Kelly Oubre? No, I did not. So he's gonna go get it done. Also, Kelly Oubre, I'm pretty sure the ladies like Kelly Oubre. So I'm sure she's probably not ugly, if I had to guess.
I think it's the eyes.
It's the eyes. Yeah, he's got those like devil eyes.
So, but
Tsunami Poppy.
When you mentioned his name, like, it's hard to find guys, especially on 2-game slates, that you're like, okay, like, if this guy had 40, like, he's probably not, obviously. If he had 40, it wouldn't be like the craziest thing in the world. They need offense. I think that even in their starting lineup, they might see that they need offense, even, now that Harden's not there. So especially off the bench, I mean, any team starting PJ Tucker knows that they're going to need a lot of offense from the other 4 guys. I'm not sure if Melton's ready to give it. Harris and Maxey, I think Maxey's probably there, but Harris, who knows? Embiid's obviously that guy. This is a really interesting team. I could see Philly, like, if they struggle early, completely falling apart, dealing Embiid. They're just not really set up in what looks like a really good Eastern Conference.
Don't know what Nick Nurse wants to do with some of these guys. It's such a weird, it's such a weird fit and everything. I just don't know what we're going to get. You had such bad numbers in terms of shooting efficiency from Kelly Oubre last season. Only a 49.8% effective field goal percentage. Not really a rim guy. Only shot 31.9% from three, but I just don't know who else it ends up being if it's not him. I'm going to get you caught up on Super Chats. This show is flying. How do we only have 23 minutes before lock? I'm going to get it going for everybody. So, Jacob, we ended up getting that one for you already. Awesome. Jay, $1.99. Eric, Showdown, Suns, Lakers. I'll do that like the last 2 or 3 minutes of the show. I promise we will get to that. I'll talk you through some of the better plays there. Thank you for the super chat. Ben Anthony, $4.99. Dwight Howard or Kitty at the Fladman. Kitty, looking good, Eric. Let's get it going, son. Yes, son. As Andrew Tate says, it feels good to see a top G. Oh, gosh, people are funny. But anyway, Ben Anthony, $4.99. Appreciate you. Dwight Howard or Kitty? Neither.
Wait, who?
Literally.
First off, I missed the joke too. What was the joke?
I don't know what it is.
I missed it. Oh yeah, what was the joke? I missed it. I did see the Dwight Howard stuff. Yeah.
Anyway, Kitty, I don't know. Melton, why is DraftKings saying Pat Bev is starting? Do not trust the check mark. Do not ever trust the check mark. Let me see. It does have him starting for Philadelphia. That's hilarious.
I was just thinking about him too as like a guy that you could potentially play off the bench, but you can't because he's 4,500.
I've got him 23 minutes. I mean, you could do worse than he runs into some stocks, probably more FanDuel specific. Let me look at his tag.
Yeah, he's a 2-game slate play, though, like for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Because, he can walk into some stocks and stuff. One guy
he's 4,300 on FanDuel. I'd be much more inclined to pull that lever.
One guy that we did not talk about that I like a lot here, especially if you're playing Durant in a lot of the late game, is Nurk. Like, he's another one of these guys that's coming in, a little bit over-owned, and you can't play one of Davis or Embiid to play him. But, man, especially with no Booker or Beal, his offense is needed, and he's not a good defensive center, but they need his offense here. And he's a very good offensive center. He's a very good rebounder. He's too cheap for his upside. He's got 50-point upside here. Like, his upside is as high as like an Embiid regular game. Like, that's not going to happen often at all. And certainly Embiid has higher upside, but Nurkic has 60, 55-point upside in there, depending on how many minutes he plays. And I think he looks great here if you're, playing this under the assumption that this game stays competitive.
Let's jump over to the lineup generator, shall we, Jordan Klein? I think that would be a great thing to fire up here for DraftKings purposes, mainly because we keep talking about our favorite plays. We talk about the leverage. You know what can happen for you? You can sign up for the lineup generator for a super, super low number that we're talking about. You can also get 20% off of any NBA DFS package with promo code TIPOFF. So that $15, 20% off becomes $12. Those are easy things to try out right now. And we have lineups that are curated for you using our projections, using everything you know and love from the Sims tool if you've had availability to it. This is so fast, so easy to use here. We're going to fire up some DraftKings main. I want to see who ends up showing up the most, because this is generally going to also be on a 2-game slate. Who shows up the most when you go through the Sims tool and run it unencumbered, where you don't deal with the ROI boost. So do some contrarian lineups, because we're playing large field and we want to get weird, Jordan Klein. You want to get weird. Yeah, Beverly not starting. He's not. But DraftKings, thank you for that. Tried to artificially increase his ownership. Save a bunch of those. See how quick and easy this is. Oh, yeah, Drew Eubanks. He's going to be the last guy we talk about for sure on this slate. I have too much Drew Eubanks. All right.
And you so probably don't have a ton of Nurkic.
Look at this. Paul Reed, the highest non-Sun. We got Jordan Goodwin, 94%. Again, it's so hard to get away from. Kevin Durant, so hard to get away from. We'll be mindful of what ownership is on these early studs. But as you look at it, Joel Embiid actually with Paul Reed next to each other, On a 2-game slate, that doesn't matter to me. Does it matter to you when you're building out like 3 high stakes lineups? Do you think about Paul Reed because they're obviously going to be splitting center minutes, him and Embiid?
I said this earlier with Jokic and Gordon. You have to throw those rules out the window if you're multi-entering. If I'm playing a couple lineups, like probably not gonna. They're both so cheap that I think you can definitely play them together. I don't think that would be my preference, but I would have no problem with it. I'll put it like that.
Yeah, I would have no problem with it whatsoever.
They're both so cheap.
Right. They're so cheap. And like, you obviously are looking for different ways to get different. I mean, you could be Kelly Oubre, or you could be Milwaukee's Kelly Oubre and Bobby Portis. I would be interested about those. But as I'm looking through the results of it here, I think the other surprising guy that we haven't talked about at all is Austin Reeves. Right. That price dipped down. He's not pulling quite the ownership that I thought he was going to be like super insanely chalky right out of the gate. 31 minutes, had it going until he didn't in that last time out. Not the best shooting performance from him, but he's been one of the better shooters in terms of true shooting percentage in the NBA from last season. Been awesome for 2 years, basically. Now this third year, but if he takes another jump, well, it's going to just be fun to watch here for him. But Austin Reeves, what's your interest level there?
I mean, he looks good. There's no really doubting that. He's a really nice, just like kind of fill-in piece for this slate, especially with people playing like a lot of Suns, and a lot of Suns look great here. You want a piece or two of the Lakers. He looks good. He's not the greatest DFS player in the world, but with LeBron playing limited minutes, you expect him to take on more of a role. I will say I don't love him here. I don't see him breaking the slate by any means. I don't think he's a must play. I wouldn't put him in near the same category as like an Eric Gordon here. I kind of like Tobias Harris better in tournaments, knowing that Reeves is the better play at 1,000 cheaper. But, again, tournaments trying to win, et cetera, et cetera. So Reeves is good. I don't love him, but I think he's a good play. What do you think?
Yeah, he's fine. It's a guy that I think is just going to show up because of positionality. Fits in some easy spots. There's a small forward, shooting guard, always the best eligibility you can have on DK. Gives you some more swappability being higher on him compared to somebody that might be in that range as well. I mean, for me, Okogie's just somebody we haven't even talked about either. We're 4,700 for him, and I find him to be a pretty easy piece to click on. And Nurkic, when we round things out, we'll talk centers to get out of here, because I think the big point of leverage that I'm trying to embrace here, building out in like my single entry, I think Drew Eubanks makes a lot of sense at 3,900, because Paul Reed, there's just a part of me that feels like we know what he can be. He can absolutely go out and slam in 18 minutes. And if you're new to DFS, maybe that's news to you, but people have done this for a while. Not news to us. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but I'll be able to react to what his ownership is. And there's a lot of different plays you can mix and match from LA and Phoenix that are going to be value pieces. Feel like Drew Eubanks, no matter what, isn't going to get like steamed up in a way. And as good as Nurkic played, and I love Nurkic with that team, there's an opportunity, I think, for Drew Eubanks at the backup center minutes. It's something that on a 2-game slate I embrace an absolute ton. So I wanted to throw that out there. Anything else you wanted to add here from the lineup generator, from the projections before I talk a little bet 365?
Well, just talking on Okogie and Eubanks real quick.
Yeah.
We didn't talk about Okogie. He makes a lot of sense as another, value fill-in piece. He's a little more expensive than he was, but, no Beal and Booker can't be reiterated enough. And I get your Eubanks point, especially if you're not playing Nurkic, a guy who I mentioned that I like a lot. The ownership looks to be there, though. So it's not like he's coming in with a lot of leverage. I mean, he's under-owned, which I like, or he's low-owned, which I like, but he has a low chance of being in the optimal. And to touch on your Phoenix point, I don't think it's crazy at all to play 5 Phoenix guys. Durant, Gordon, Goodwin, Grayson Allen, Okogie. That's 5 right there. That's not even including Nurkic. I don't think it's crazy to play 6, depending on how you think this game plays out. It's not going to be an optimal lineup or anything right now, but it's a 2-game slate. And we saw it, kind of break out the other night with Denver. Denver could have been a lot better too. So, at least something to think about.
Definitely something to think about. Something to think about if you're in one of these 6 states, my friends. We're talking Kentucky, Ohio, New Jersey, Virginia, Iowa, and Colorado. Bet $5, get $150 in bonus bets over at Bet365. They're the sponsor here of our lovely show here. We've got 14 minutes before lock, but wouldn't it be great to be able to fire up a bet for $5 and get 150 in bonus bets just for taking advantage of that if you're in one of those 6 states? Well, it's even better if you're in Kentucky. They just got sports betting. Bet365 wants you to know that. So you bet $1 at the link, you get 365. That is only for Kentucky. But hey, 5 into 150 in bonus bets, that doesn't exactly suck either. So if you're in the great states of Kentucky, Ohio, New Jersey, Virginia, Iowa, or Colorado, what are you waiting for? This is as easy as it gets. I don't really have a whole lot to add because 5 into 150 in bonus bets, $1 into 365 bonus bets, that pays for itself. Like that makes all the sense in all the land. Of course, it's only if you're 21 and over, 18 and over in Kentucky. And if you have a gambling problem, please call 1-800-GAMBLER. 13 minutes to go, friends. Jordan Klein wants you all to hit the like button because he is working back-to-back streams after working this morning. He's just working overtime here for you. Jordan Klein, are you ready for a nap? There it is. I thought you might be. Commonwealth of Kentucky, Oubre. There he is. All right. But shout out Rimpack there in the chat. So true. I also caught up on some of that other stuff. Phil Sensig, $1.99. He brings up, is it Marion Beauchamp party, baby?
I believe it's Marshawn Beauchamp.
Oh, sure. I don't care. I don't have him.
No, me neither. I think Malik Beasley starting, right?
Yes.
Yeah, he's 5K now. And I was just busting your balls with that pronunciation. Sorry.
It's okay.
No, it's not interesting to me at all.
Chat is interesting to me. 1.8K of you. This is so lovely to have you guys. Don't forget, NFL Live Before Lock going to be coming on after us, of course, because it's lovely. I just built out a set also for FanDuel purposes because I want to talk through position by position and just get your highest owned player or the guys that you're prioritizing at each position on DraftKings.com. I will do some FanDuel.com here as well. I'm only playing DraftKings tonight, but yeah, I played both on opening night. Didn't go as well as I was hoping. Didn't go as well as it went for my good friend Greg Ehrenberg. Ends up tying for the bink over on FanDuel. Got a binky. He cries a lot. I know I'm supposed to be the crier. I'm emotional like that, but it's actually him. Might not know that. Anyway, point guard, friends. Who are you getting to the most, my friend?
Goodwin.
Goodwin. Yeah, it's Goodwin. I will say, one of my main 3 lineups that I have going here, I have Tyrese Maxey as the only piece from the Milwaukee game, and I kind of like the complexion of it. Tyrese Maxey, just go completely bonkers, please. That would be fun. To shooting guard we go.
Shooting guard, I think it's going to be EG, Eric Gordon. He looks like the top guy there. I also really like Maxey in tournaments and playing him at shooting guard.
FanDuel, Grayson Allen, not somebody that we talked about on DK because I don't really like the price. And, you know, even though he starts and he's whatever, didn't really love what we saw from the early one. Again, it's a 1-game sample size there from what we saw on Tuesday, but never my favorite roster. So FanDuel, that's where you'd want to get the exposure. Actually, I just refreshed the most popular shooting guard / forward, 64.1%. Whoa, that's a lot of ownership on Grayson Allen on FanDuel. $4,700 Eric Gordon, also really, really nice. Love the leverage that you're getting with Josh Okogie there at 5K. He's a little bit more expensive, but I think if I'm playing one lineup, I'd be inclined to get away from Grayson there at that one. To small forward you go.
Small forward, you've got Durant eligible for both, so he's going in one of them. And then there's a lot of guys that are small forward, power forward eligible. My favorite, I'm going to go with, I'll go Durant.
Definitely Durant. That has to be it. For FanDuel purposes, Kevin Durant, 9,800, 74% ownership. Eat that chalk every day. Tobias Harris, a little bit different at 6,800 over there. That's a wild one. I just made my 150 there. Doesn't seem to be somebody that I would be getting to nearly as much as what it seems I am getting to him on DraftKings.com. Power forward.
Just to stop you real quick, relatively, I feel like he's cheaper on FanDuel than DraftKings. So that's why the ownership is there. I like him more on DraftKings also, but he's 68 on FanDuel, 66 on DK. Isn't there pricing like 500? I don't know the exact what it is, but you know what I mean?
Right. I do know what you mean. I think for me, maybe it's just the fact that, hang on, I got stuck on DK tiers. I don't know why that happened. I have more interest in Tobias as a leverage piece over on DK than what I do on FanDuel. I mean, he's 15% owned in our last run on DK, Whereas on FanDuel, because it can be kind of in that mid-range, it's easier to get to some of the pieces, even with like, hey, LeBron is 10K, Giannis is 12K. Seems as though still pretty accessible, although Giannis, kind of a luxury item there at 12K, 15% ownership going there. Always fun to get to a 15% Giannis on a 2-game slate. So just throwing that out for what it's worth. Power forward.
Pricing's tougher on FanDuel, which probably is why he's not getting like a lot of ownership at all. I'm with you. Anytime you can, get that into your lineup, it's worth at least exploring. You're gonna have to make some tough fades, but people aren't really willing to do that. That's why he's low owned. Power forward, as you mentioned, a lot of guys in play here. Probably AD, because you can play him at power forward here. It just makes too much sense, especially the blocks and stuff is worth more. So AD.
Okay. And then to the center spot that we rounded all out with, I guess power forward for me, Kevin Durant, Anthony Davis, much more accessible, 10-3 over on FanDuel. Center, rounded out.
Man, this one's tricky for me because I do think you can play AD at center here. Embiid's more expensive. Nurkic is much more expensive. I think you can play Paul Reed as a punt. So again, I'm not playing FanDuel tonight, so I haven't built out lineup. So it's hard for me to say exactly what I would do, like whether I would play AD at power. There's a lot of multi-position eligibility here, so you can mix it around however you want. I'm still gonna say Nurk, but I like him a lot more on DraftKings.
I love Nurk on DraftKings. Center position, that is, he was always going to be in my main lineup. I just love the fit with Nurkic and Phoenix. I think they love the fit too. It's just much more the brand of basketball Phoenix wants to play than a DeAndre Ayton. I can't remember a time DeAndre Ayton was in the pick and roll with Devin Booker to close out a game. And Nurkic made a great cut to the hoop and obviously made that layup that sealed the deal the other night. Love watching him succeed there. I think he's a pretty underrated passer too. I think as things go along, we might see that assist rate take off a little bit more with Phoenix than what we saw in his time at Portland, sharing a floor with Damian Lillard. That'll kind of do it for you. Not that if he can, Beal and Booker and Durant won't, but you can play through Nurkic with that second unit for sure if you keep him on the floor.
Especially tonight with only Durant in, as I was saying earlier, they need Nurk. They need his offense. They need him to be able to stay on the floor here, which is my only concern, is that, AD gets him into foul trouble. Always a concern with Nurk. But I'm not worried about his production if he does stay on the floor. This is a guy at 6K or whatever on DK, 6,100. He could end up being the best points per dollar play on the slate. And it would not surprise me.
Jordan Klein, do you have that video from earlier queued up? Do you know what I'm talking about? You do? I'll give you a second here. I'll talk Odd Shopper for a second, but I want to leave you guys with something really, really fun here in the last couple minutes before we turn it over to NFL Live Before Lock. Laffy, Neil Orfield, giving you all the information. We got a 45-minute, 50-minute show leading you up to lock of Tampa Bay Buffalo. You're not going to want to go anywhere. You're going to want to stay right here on this channel. Switch over to that feed here in all of about 3-4 minutes when we get out of here just before half past the hour. But Odd Shopper, we have a great deal going over there as well. Slam Dunk 50% off of Odd Shopper right now. It is as simple as do you want to get positive EV bets? Do you want to be a better? Well, the best way to do that is checking out the tool every single day, updating, following all of the great tutorials. We're going to have a lot of really cool videos coming down the pipeline very, very shortly, helping you utilize the tools at Odd Shopper. Get a sneak peek right now, 50% off using promo code SlamDunk50. That's awesome stuff. Check it out. But, friends, Jordan Klein, cue it up, my friend. Let's go. It's the nuke of the night. Matt Belman, my guy. Have you seen the nuke of the night that Greg Ehrenberg and I fucked up with Victor Wembanyama, but smashed with Dario Saric? Nuke of the night.
No, where's the video, though?
Nuke of the night. Who is the nuke play? The underutilized play that is going to win us all the money.
Kelly Oubre.
Oh, it's Tsunami Puppy season. The nuke of the night. For me, the nuke of the night. I don't know why I turned it to like Christian Bale from Batman, but the nuke of the night. It's going to be Josh Okogie. Everybody is sleeping on him. Everybody wants to play Goodwin. Everybody wants to play Gordon. Do not sleep on Mr. Josh Okogie. Going to have to step into a larger offensive role than normal. It's the second game of the season. We'll see how the pieces fit here, but I've got him in for 34 minutes, second most minutes of anybody on the floor for Phoenix, besides, of course, Kevin Durant.
You threw me off guard. I got to change mine. I went way too contrarian.
You went very contrarian. I was gonna say,
no need for this.
Okay.
Like, there's just no need. I'm going Tyrese Maxey. Same team. I love Maxey tonight.
Different team. Wait. Josh Okogie is Phoenix.
I didn't say Josh Okogie.
You said Tyrese Maxey.
Yeah, but I said Kelly Oubre. So it was the same team. Different team from your guy. Yeah. We're both right.
There you go. We are both right. What I heard was different from what you were saying. There we are. We found it. Tyrese Maxey, the nuke of the night for Matt Belman. Great stuff, my friend. First show in the books. Go follow him at Fantasy Tips Matt. That was awesome. Also, shout out to Brody. Brody Benz, phenomenal in the graphics team, putting that all together. Cancel Eric, I'm offended. No, it's the nuke of the night. We were talking about it with Greg, and it's fun. We're having fun. God, nobody can have fun. Matt Belman, any final words for the people as we get out of here?
No, a lot of fun here. As you said, went by really quickly, as the old saying goes. Time flies when you're having fun.
Time flies when you're having fun. These NBA shows fly, my friend. Jordan Klein, thank you for just being you. You're lovely. And thank you to Brody again. Really fun stuff putting that graphic together. Don't go anywhere. Turning it over to NFL Live Before Lock this second. See ya.